Good evening. Thanks for coming to this talk at Lovebytes 2007. I'd like to introduce Simon Warner. Simon Warner is a professional photographer and filmmaker. His work often explores the cultural development in film and water. He's currently undertaking a Nesta Research Fellowship exploring the link between early photography, popular culture, and the history of ideas. Today, Simon's going to be talking about his evolution from professional photographer to filmmaker and about his short landscape films that exploit the automatic functions of digital camcorders.
The film Follow a Shadow was made very much to look like a bit of early film, and although it was done in the sort of modern way on digital video, that was a convenience rather than a necessity, because we then distressed it to make it look like a piece of film. But I think in my landscape work, the video side of it has been a necessity rather than a convenience, which I hope I'll be able to show you. And I'm going to start off really visually by showing you this film, which is the only one of mine that's been shown at all regularly or at all extensively, A Guide to Yorkshire Rivers. Partly because it's the only one that's on DVD, and therefore it's convenient to show it first. Partly also because it doesn't particularly look its best in this setting, and the thing about The Guide to Yorkshire Rivers is it's a three-part work, 3 rivers running simultaneously on 3 screens. Because one of the ideas behind that film was to try and reference or interrogate, would be the latest word, I think, interrogate the whole question of landscape history and the way in which we perceive beautiful countryside as something, you know, maybe alive and vigorous, but maybe to do with nostalgia and wanting to get back to an 18th century ideal. The idea of getting down on the water was specifically to undermine the idea of an aristocratic overview. So the juxtaposition of aerial and river viewpoints is to do with that. And in 1998, I took advantage of Photo 98, which was the year of photography in Yorkshire and Humberside, to produce a touring exhibition called Airedale, A Changing Landscape, which used panoramic format, as you see here for the first time, which I hadn't used before, and I used it specifically in order to take pictures like this, and to try and introduce a kind of almost a dialectic, but contrast in land use, which I think, you know, are particularly obvious here, but I was using that technique quite a lot. And what I was interested in was the post-industrial changes that were going on in the Aire Valley, and the way that the river and its canal system interrelated. And, you know, going back to basics, I was quite interested in finding out where the Aire actually went, because nobody knows where their local rivers go, or necessarily where they come from. It's a very interesting thing that we've completely lost touch with the idea of a river as a channel of communication, if you like. In another small exhibition which I did for the Bronte Parsonage Museum called Watershed, I displayed video stills or frame grabs as the primary output. In other words, this was another underwater or waterline film, but I didn't exhibit the moving footage. I only exhibited the prints that were made from the optimized frames. And although this wasn't the first time I'd noticed this, it was the first time I'd realized, perhaps, that with tens of thousands of frames to choose from in a kind of semi-abstract work like this, the idea of the photographic idea of the decisive moment is actually completely dissolved. I think that probably the decisive moment was the great idea of 20th century photography, Cartier-Bresson's original phrase, which he expanded on very eloquently and very philosophical about. But it's come under a lot of interrogation more recently. And the question arises, is it the photographer's decisive moment or the subject's decisive moment? Because clearly there are two decisive moments. And with this kind of thing, where I'm just trawling through the frames, and the limit of possibilities is only constrained by the amount of time you've got to actually go through the thing frame by frame. Choice is made at leisure, meaning is not fixed in advance, and in fact only digital video could offer you that range of possibilities.